I found out I'd won $50 million on the same day I heard my husband plotting to destroy my life. Not cheating, not leaving me, destroying me. I stood outside his office door in downtown Chicago, holding my little boy on my hip, ready to tell Adrian the good news that could have saved our family. But before I stepped inside, I heard him whisper to his assistant, his lover, that once I signed the papers, he prepared I would take the fall for his illegal project. Fraud, prison, losing my son, my whole future, handed to him on a silver platter. He laughed, she giggled, and I froze. That was the day I realized my marriage wasn't broken, it was a trap, and the only way to save myself was to beat him at his own game. What happened next changed everything. My name is Rachel Hayes, and if you had met me a year ago, you would have said I was just another regular mom in Chicago, 32, exhausted, and quietly trying to keep a family together. I lived in a modest apartment in Lincoln Park with my 3-year-old son Liam and a husband who barely noticed either of us anymore. But on one freezing Thursday morning in January, the kind that cuts through every layer of clothing, I learned 2 things that changed my life forever. The first one made me feel like the luckiest woman alive. The second one made me feel like the stupidest. That morning, snow drifted like powder sugar over the city. I was in the kitchen, reheating leftover waffles, when I spotted a wrinkled lottery ticket stuck under a magnet on the fridge. I had bought it at a Green Mart a few days earlier, mostly because the cashier, an older woman with a tired smile, asked if I wanted a little luck. I didn't believe in luck. Not after spending 5 years married to Adrian Cole, a man who promised me everything and delivered almost nothing except late nights excuses and a growing emptiness inside our home. But something made me check those numbers anyway. 5, 18, 22, 34, 47, and the grand jackpot ball 9. I froze. I stared. I blinked. I counted zeros on my phone screen until tears blurred everything. $50 million. I remember sinking to the floor, clutching that thin slip of paper like it was oxygen. For the first time in years, hope rushed back into my chest, wild, messy, overwhelming. I pulled Liam into my arms and spun him around. "Baby, our life is about to change," I whispered. "Everything's going to be okay." And for a moment, I truly believed it. I grabbed my coat, tucked the ticket deep inside the inner pocket, where nobody could accidentally touch it, scooped Liam up, and rushed out the door. I couldn't wait to tell Adrian. I imagined his face lighting up, imagined him hugging me. For the first time in months, imagined us finally becoming a family again. The Uber dropped us off in the Loop, right in front of Adrian's office building, a glass tower I had helped him clean on weekends before he made it. Back then, we were partners, a team. He told me I was the reason he succeeded. Before he stopped saying things like that. Before he stopped saying anything at all. As I walked past security, the elevator mirrors reflected a woman I barely recognized. Cheeks flushed, eyes bright with hope, Liam wrapped around my hip, his little boots kicking softly against me. I hesitated outside Adrian's office door. It was slightly open, just like it always was when he was on calls. I smiled, imagining myself bursting in with good news. But the second I stepped closer, I heard voices. Not business voices. Not stressed, overworked Adrian voices. No. Soft laughter, breathy whispering. A woman's giggle I recognized instantly. Brittany Lewis, his assistant, his shadow, and apparently, his lover. I froze. Liam pressed his cheek to my shoulder, sensing my body stiffen. Then I heard Adrian's voice, low, smug, dripping with confidence I hadn't heard in years. "Don't worry, Britt. She's too naive to question anything. Once she signs those documents, she'll take the fall if the city decides to investigate the project. After that, we're free." My blood turned to ice. "What about her?" Brittany asked. Adrian chuckled. "She's just a stay-at-home nobody. She'll believe whatever I tell her, and if she doesn't..." He paused long enough for my stomach to twist. "I'll make her." My legs nearly gave out. I wasn't just being cheated on. I wasn't just being replaced. He was planning to use my name to cover up whatever illegal mess he had gotten himself into and let me take the fall. A fraud investigation, prison charges, losing custody of Liam. I suddenly understood Adrian didn't see me as his wife anymore. He saw me as a shield, a scapegoat, a trap door he could drop me through when things got messy. And worst of all, he enjoyed it. Brittany's voice softened. "You're sure she's that clueless?" That was the moment something inside me cracked, like ice breaking on a lake. I stepped back from the door, pulling Liam closer, pressing my palm over his small ear so he couldn't hear the filth inside that office. My vision blurred, but not from tears. From clarity. From something sharp and cold forming in my chest. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I didn't expose myself. I straightened my coat. I kissed Liam's forehead. And I walked away. Not because I was scared, but because I had just realized exactly who my husband really was and exactly what kind of woman I would have to become to survive him. Outside snowflakes melted on my cheeks like warm tears, but I wasn't crying. Not anymore. I wasn't the Rachel he thought he could play with. I wasn't the quiet, patient wife who waited at home. I wasn't the woman who swallowed her feelings anymore. I was the woman he should have never underestimated. And now, I had 50 million reasons to end the game he thought he controlled. Before I tell you what I did next, let me ask you something. If you heard your spouse plotting to ruin your life, would you walk away quietly or fight back? If you think Adrian crossed every line imaginable, type 10 in the comments. I didn't sleep at all that night. Liam lay curled beside me in our small apartment, breathing softly, his tiny hand resting on my arm. I watched him in the dim glow of the streetlights leaking through the blinds and felt a pressure in my chest so heavy it was hard to breathe. I wasn't just married to a liar. I wasn't just married to a cheater. I was married to a man who would happily destroy me to save himself. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Adrian's voice again. She'll sign whatever I give her. She'll take the fall. I had spent years thinking his distance came from stress, ambition, the weight of his career. I excused every late night, every cold shoulder, every missed birthday, every "I'm busy" Rach. I told myself he was building a future for us. But that night, watching my son breathe, I realized something. Adrian was never building a future for us. He was building one away from us. By sunrise, something inside me had hardened. I couldn't confront him yet. Not without a plan. Not without protection. Not when he had the power to twist everything back on me. I needed information. I needed proof. I needed to think like the people who had spent years underestimating me. So I made a decision that surprised even me. I called his company. Cole Development. How may I assist you? Yes, I said, steadying my voice. I'd like to apply for any open entry-level positions. Housekeeping, filing, front desk. I didn't care. I just needed to be inside. 2 days later, I walked through those glossy glass doors, not as Adrian's wife, but as an invisible employee in a plain gray uniform. And guess what? I learned almost immediately. Invisible people see everything. Brittany strutted past me with her $600 heels and overly sprayed perfume. She didn't even glance at me. Adrian brushed past me once, talking on the phone, and didn't even recognize me until I lifted my eyes. His surprise was so brief, I could have missed it. He smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was a warning. "Rachel, what are you doing here?" His voice was smooth, but his eyes were calculating. "Just picking up some hours," I answered lightly. "Figured we could use the money." He nodded slowly, pretending to accept that answer, but I could see the gears turning in his head. Good, I thought. Let him spin. Let him wonder how much I know. Because while he was busy wondering, I was busy watching. I cleaned conference rooms and overheard hushed arguments. I wiped down glass walls and saw spreadsheets left open on laptops. I emptied trash cans and found shredded documents that shouldn't have existed. Piece by piece, the truth surfaced. Adrian wasn't just cutting corners. He wasn't just bending rules. He was laundering money through Cole Family Holdings, using fake subcontractors, and funneling funds through projects that didn't even exist. And the documents he wanted me to sign, they would have made me the responsible manager for one of those fake projects, leaving me to take the fall if the city decided to investigate. He wasn't planning to ruin me if needed. He'd already prepared the paperwork. He was just waiting for the right moment. One afternoon, while emptying trash on the executive floor, I noticed Brittany had left her iPad open on her desk. The screen glowed with a long spreadsheet titled Transfers Q4 Final. My heart rushed into my throat. She always used her Face ID on the device, careless, arrogant. But for some reason, maybe a glitch, maybe fate, the screen stayed awake. I snapped photos with my phone as fast as I could. Account numbers, vendor names, large transfers with no descriptions. When I scrolled, I found something else. A folder named For AC. Inside were drafts of emails, scanned documents, and typed instructions about how to shift liability to the secondary signer. Me. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the device. I felt anger rising, not wild anger, but something colder, something sharper. But then, I found something that made my stomach twist. A draft email, IRS anonymous report, suspicious activity linked to Rachel Hayes. It wasn't just a plan. It wasn't just a backup option. Adrian had already started the process. The only reason it hadn't been sent was because someone had scheduled it to go out next Monday at 9 a.m. I swallowed hard. I suddenly felt the weight of the entire building pressing on my chest. He was really going to do it. He was going to ruin me completely, financially, legally, socially, and he had timed it like a business transaction. But I wasn't the same woman I had been a week ago. I left Brittany's desk, my pulse thundering in my ears, and headed straight to the one person whose loyalty Adrian never questioned, Patricia Reed, the head accountant. Patricia was older, late 50s, serious, always wearing patterned scarves. I had seen the way she looked at Adrian sometimes, like she saw right through him. I knocked on her door softly. She looked up, and in that moment, I didn't know if she would help me or send me straight to Adrian. "Patricia," I whispered, "I need to show you something." What happened after that changed everything. But before I tell you how she reacted, let me ask you, if you discovered your spouse was secretly preparing to blame you for a crime, would you go to the police or fight them from the inside? If you'd never let them get away with it, type 10. Patricia didn't say a word at first. She just stared at the photos on my phone, the illegal transfers, the shell companies, the scheduled IRS report targeting me, and something in her eyes shifted. Not shock, not confusion, recognition. Like she'd known this storm was coming, and finally saw where it would land. She closed her office door, locked it, then motioned for me to sit. "Rachel," she said quietly, "I've been waiting for the day someone showed me this. Adrian thinks he's smarter than everyone here, but he's sloppy, and arrogant men always leave a trail." She opened a drawer and pulled out a small black USB drive. "This," she said, tapping it, "is the full financial ledger. The real one. I've been keeping a copy because I knew someday he might try something dangerous." My breath caught. This was it. The weapon he never expected me to hold. "But you need to disappear from this building," Patricia warned. "If Adrian senses even a hint of what you found, he'll strike first, and he won't miss." I left through the back stairwell, my pulse pounding, clutching the USB like a lifeline. For the next 3 days, I lived on adrenaline. I called Victor Ramirez, the co-founder Adrian had betrayed years ago. I expected him to refuse seeing me, but the moment I said Adrian's name, he agreed to meet at a diner near the Chicago River. Victor listened silently as I laid everything out: the affair, the fraud, the scheme to trap me with fake paperwork. Then, I showed him the USB. He exhaled slowly. "Rachel, this could burn his entire empire down." "I don't want his empire," I said quietly. "I just want my life back." Victor nodded. "Then let's take everything he built and rebuild it our way." Together we created Aurora Dynamics, a company that would quietly compete against Adrian's. I used a portion of the lottery money still untouched and hidden away to fund our start. We were lightning fast, hungry, precise. Within months, Aurora won contracts Adrian had counted on. His cash flow shrank, his investors panicked, and his empire built on lies began to crumble. But that wasn't the end. Because one morning, I woke up to a knock on my apartment door. Adrian stood there, thinner, wild-eyed, desperate. "Rachel, please. I just need to talk." Every cell in my body wanted to slam the door. But I let him speak. "It's all falling apart," he confessed. Someone out there is sabotaging my company. You have to help me." I held his gaze calm as winter. "I did," I said. "I tried. For years." He blinked confused. Then I said the words that drained the color from his face. "I know everything, Adrian. The laundering, the fake companies, the planned IRS report, the affair, all of it." And when I told him I had the ledger, the real ledger, his legs buckled beneath him. You wouldn't," he stammered. "I already did." 2 hours later, Adrian filed a lawsuit against me, claiming I was hiding marital assets, seeking half of the lottery money he didn't even know I had. I knew he'd do it. Men like him always try to flip the board when they realize the game isn't theirs anymore. We went to court 3 weeks later. And I will never forget the way Adrian strutted in, wearing the one suit he had left that didn't look worn. Brittany wasn't with him. She had vanished, rumor had it. She'd fled the state the moment the money stopped flowing. But I wasn't alone. Patricia sat behind me, Victor beside me, my attorney with a folder full of evidence. When it was my turn, I stood and spoke softly, but every word hit like iron. I provided the ledger, the audio recordings, the scheduled IRS report, the fabricated documents. The judge didn't even let Adrian finish defending himself. By noon, the courtroom doors swung open, and 2 FBI agents walked in. "Mr. Cole once said you're under arrest for tax fraud, wire fraud, and falsifying federal documents." Adrian's knees buckled again. This time, no one helped him up. As they led him out, he looked back at me, not angry, not hateful, just stunned. As if he finally realized the one truth he never saw coming: I wasn't the weak one. I was the one who walked away quietly, because I knew I'd return louder. After the hearing, I took Liam to the Chicago Riverwalk. He squealed at the boats, the water taxis, the tourists feeding ducks. I sat on a bench holding him, close breathing in the cold river air. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not because I was rich, not because Adrian was gone, but because I had chosen myself. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a shadow. I wasn't the woman he tried to bury. I was the woman who survived him, and now I was free. Before I end this story, let me ask you, how do you feel about everything I went through? If you think I made the right choice, comment 100 below. Tell me where you're watching from, and please share this story to support the channel.